missing someone.
Now, I don't know. So when I sing that, when I look at things, and I know you guys all know this, like sometimes you go in there thinking you can do something and people are like, no, you cannot. So I'm not mad and don't think that I'm like delusional. I just don't know.
Yeah. I'll let you know.
So you say, listen, you can't do that. I understand. Okay, cool. But it's my wish list. So I don't want to be like, I like the I guess it's the balayage look a little more.
The balayage.
Balayage. Where it's kind of like, it's gray, but not, it's like blended in. Do you know what I mean? Kind of like that sort of look. Is that possible?
Honestly, with the amount of natural gray you have at the root, I don't think that'll blend.
Okay.
Only because, like, from here to the front, it's more white than pepper.
Okay.
And so those are more pepper looks than white. Here, can I show the camera really quick? Like, for instance, this at the roots. They're a lot darker than what you are naturally in the front.
That's what I was sort of realizing when you said that. I was like, okay, I've been looking at this wrong.
Yeah, that's why when I was looking at your pictures, I was like, I don't know if you can do the dimensional. It would just create more maintenance, and when it grows out, you're still gonna have that feel where the ends are darker.
Okay, so then what are you thinking? Or what am I
like we said in the text, I would recommend just doing the solid first. And then when your roots grow in, we can do a really soft, like blended highlight to kind of get you to have like your natural be the dimension. So those are all solid applications.
Okay.
There's that one and that one. And it's only because from here to here in the front, it's pretty silvery white.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I were to highlight you today, your roots would still look lighter.
Okay.
Yeah, because this color is a lot darker than the dark that's in between your white and the front.
Okay.
That's the only thing.
Is that the original, I say it wrong every time, balayage. Is that never possible then?
No, we can transition this. Once we get you solid, we can transition you to be something more blended.
Okay.
And the balayage later.
Okay.
But because this is all like a solid tone and then you have some highlights on the very end, it's just easier for me to lighten this.
Okay.
Solid. Because if I don't do it solid today, let's say it doesn't get as silver today, and you're left more with a blonde tone. So the next time when you come in, it's a lot easier for me to touch this up when it's solid because I can just put the lightener, solid application. I don't have to pick through anything else.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier to do it this way first.
Okay.
And then once we get you to that level, if your hair can take it, then when your roots grow in, I would have you just wait it out, let your roots grow in, and then we can do more of like a blended look, like the first photos you sent me.
Okay.
And then that way you can grow it out soft.
Okay. Cool. That sounds good. All right. It's not never. It's like maybe
it's
in the
just
future.
later.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just because of what you have going on with on the ends, it's so solid dark compared to your root.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell through our consultation, we are attempting to do a version of gray blending. Now, I don't do solid applications on everybody. You definitely have to have a good amount of white hair. And the reason being is because if I just were to kind of like highlight this, her roots being so white would just look lighter still, and that's the whole point of why she's in my chair, is because we don't like the contrast that the roots are lighter. We want it to look cohesive and pretty much the same and look more intentional. So I'm gonna go in, prepped her with some K18. Whenever I do like a solid application of like a gray transition, I always like to spray in some K18 in the hair just to kind of preserve the strength of the hair and all that, because we will be lightening everything solid. And usually this type of correction will entail applying multiple times just to kind of keep the strength of the lightener at its maximum until we reach its level that we need it to be. And so after I do that, I'm going to be going in with a color remover. So I'm using the Schwarzkopf color remover. This comes in like a box. I buy it at my local Cosmoprof, and it comes with like packets. You mix all the packets with developer and everything is just 1-to-1 ratio. So you can see I start in the back, and you can see there closely I've left out like a portion of her hairline. This is really common, that these hairs right around the hairline in the back nape, they tend to be shorter because they are the hairline area in the back. Those are a little bit finer, and they tend to get tangled a little bit quicker too, especially on curly hair textures like this. So because of that, they're just a little bit more fragile. And even though I'm using a color remover, it is not bleach, it's still mixed in with developer. So it's going to have some properties where it's going to open up the cuticle. It's not as damaging as bleach, it's nowhere near that. But the reason why I left out the hairline is pretty much to kind of just, I'm going to hit those parts last. So I want to hit the densest, thickest hairs first, and then apply any product to the most like fragile and finer sections of the head. So I'm just going in and pretty much using this color remover to kind of remove her permanent color that's on her hair. And I'm going in with a color remover because she has permanent color, but she also has some pre-existing highlights. So because she has these pre-existing highlights, what the color remover is going to help me visually see is where her old highlights really are. Because once you bleach the hair, no matter how much color you put on it, whether it's permanent color or a demi-permanent, if you put a color remover on top of it, those parts will lift lighter instantly, opposed to hair that's never been highlighted. So it's just kind of a good visual indication for me to really see and expose. Maybe there's hidden highlights that might have been darkened. This is going to help me see that, because once you highlight the hair, it never really takes color the same compared to hair that was virgin or never highlighted and then you put permanent color. And I want to mention the importance of that, because when you're doing lightening services, you want to try to avoid any overlapping on previous bleached or lightened areas, because those are going to be the most fragile. So when I do my application, this is going to help me really show where I could do maybe a heavier application with my lightener, opposed to going all over and just slapping on the lightener to do a solid application. So it's just kind of a good visual indicator to help me preserve any old highlights or any previous lightened pieces. So once I was done letting the color remover sit for about like 15 to 20 minutes, it did a pretty good job at lifting out the old color. And again, I only put the color remover where she had permanent color, and I feel like I was really able to see what level it was. So I went ahead and just kind of rinsed off the product and began to apply my lightener. So after the color remover was actually done, I just pretty much tried to shampoo away from the root, because again, I only applied that color remover on the mids and ends. I avoided her virgin root. So I kind of tried to avoid scrubbing her scalp and try to just rinse that off. And now I'm going in with that lightener. So I'm using the Danger Jones powder lightener that has 9+ levels of lift, and I'm using it just with 20 volume. And applying it at the bowl, I just found that it would just save me some time in case I needed to reapply, and it just made things a lot less cleaner in my opinion. I've done this at my chair before, and I just find that like lightener just kind of flies everywhere because I'm trying to essentially put the lightener on as quick as possible, but with a good amount of saturation. So every time I scoop up some lightener, I want to make sure that I'm really, really saturating here because we are doing a solid application. And I pretty much just kind of checked it every now and then, and when I was going in after like about 10 minutes or so, I wanted to squeegee off. So right now I'm kind of just scraping off the old lightener and just kind of wiping it on the bowl there, because this part is where it gets messy. So I find like in the beginning lightener is like really strong, but over time as it's sitting on the hair and doing its thing, it really loses its strength. Like I feel like it's not as strong. So I went ahead and reapplied on the end. So I'm scraping off the first batch of lightener, and I do not want to rinse the lightener off. I just want to reapply fresh because the old lightener essentially that's been sitting on her hair has kind of lost its strength. So again, I'm not going to be rinsing, I'm just going to be applying fresh lightener, but before I apply fresh lightener, I do want to kind of squeeze off the old excess lightener that is on her hair. And the reason why there's so much is because I did such a heavy saturation, because again, we are doing a solid application and I really wanted to pack in the lightener to make sure that everything was nice and even. So now that I feel like the ends are almost done lifting, I'm going in and pretty much just tapping her root now, because I've left out her root because her root was virgin, and I knew that because of how much white hair she had versus Pepper, she was going to lift really fast, and she did. And so for her root, I just used the lightener with 20 volume, and I'm just going in and carefully sectioning to apply the lightener evenly throughout the root. And the goal for the root, I know it's going to be a little bit lighter, but the reason why I'm hitting the root at all is because I need to be able to tone it. If I did not hit the root and I just put like a demi on her hair, it wouldn't really be able to kind of blend together and kind of cover. So we are hitting the root for the sake that it could take the demi permanent color that we're going to be putting all over her head. Okay, so we're going to be going in with some root color first. So you can see her root lifted lighter than those ends because the ends kind of hit a point where this is all it could take that day, which was expected. And so because her roots lifted lighter, the reason too why her roots lifted lighter was because she had mostly white hair. So when you lighten white hair, it just starts turning blonde. It kind of doesn't even turn orangey or like a level 7 at all. It just starts turning into like a yellowy blonde tone. And so I knew the roots were going to lighten a little bit lighter. So right now I'm using the Danger Jones gloss toners, and I'm using the 5-3, which is a level 5 gold for her shadow root. So after I was done applying this, that's when I applied another toner right on top. I did not rinse it out. I started to apply the 6-01, which is a level 6 natural ash, and that was just going to help control some of the warmth. Now, yes, I totally could have mixed the two together in the same formula, but I decided I wanted to just like fill the hair first, see how it was taking, and then if I needed to add more ash, I was going to, which I totally did need to add more ash to the formula. So I just applied a secondary shadow root after this one, just right on top. And then for her mids and ends formula, I didn't film this part because I felt like her hair was just toning really fast and like filming, and then hair that was toning really fast. It was really hard for me to get it all together. But I ended up toning her mids and ends with their 9-2, and then I mixed it in with a little bit of their 6-01 to kind of create like more of a blondish tone.
Ta-da! Look!
So much lighter.
Yes.
Okay, now let's see if you put your hair up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the kind of look I wanted, where it's like, okay,
Softer.
she's got some gray, but
Yeah.
it's not like a whole demarcation line of,
Yep.
yeah.
It's going to be a lot softer. And
Yeah.
then the next time when you come in, what we'll work on is Because the darkness, I don't know if you can tell, it's a little bit warmer, like right here. That's where the black was. That like.
I don't mind that though. I really don't.
Okay. If you like this color, we can maintain this color.
Okay.
But otherwise, if you want to be closer to the photos that you originally showed me, we can. The grayer ones. We have to like lighten those up because that would not take that gray toner.
Okay.
Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. And I know what some of you guys might be thinking is, why did I leave her hairline a little bit lighter at the root? And the reason being is because I have a few reasons. So those hairs around the hairline, they are finer. And when I lightened them, they lightened to like a pale blonde right away because they were so white and they're so fine. So they lightened right away. And I really didn't want to put the darker shadow root that I did behind it because I would have to lift those hairs out later. And if I just left the hairline a little bit lighter, a little bit more ashy gray, I won't have to lighten those areas again because they're already, the toner would be able to fade out. And then the other reason why I also did that for her shadow root just around her hairline is because I wanted, when she put her hair up, because she did express to me that she wants it to have like a really soft blend, and with her natural gray pattern, she naturally is super white around her hairline. So the other reason being is because I didn't want there to be a harsh line or any type of darker line of demarcation because we're steering away from that look. So I went ahead and just kind of lightened and did like a lighter ashier toner around her hairline, for the reason being when her roots grow in and she puts her hair up, it's more of a softer demarcation line opposed to doing more of that darker neutral color that I had to do in the back. So that was done on purpose and she did like that, and that is just a personal preference for the client. But that is the reason why the hairline is just a little bit lighter around where her shadow root was, because I don't want to have to add extra lightener there. I want it to fade a little bit lighter because we are going to be lightening the ends already. So it's just a little bit less stress on those hairs, especially because those hairline hairs are a little bit more fragile. I just want to avoid adding more lightener if I can. And two, because we just want it to have an overall softer grout at the root of her hair. Those were just the main reasons. Otherwise, I would normally match those root shadows, but she liked the way that it blended, and she liked that the fact that it was lighter in the front because she generally is so white naturally there anyways. But again, that's just a personal preference, and it was just something that she liked and I thought would grow out and fade out prettier with considering how her natural hair was. And honestly, with her hair down, you can't really tell too much there. I feel like it still blends really well regardless, but yeah, that was definitely intentional. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.